Hey folks, welcome back to my channel where we dive deep into the world of blockbuster movies that keep you on the edge of your seat. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the most exhilarating action films ever made, Mission: Impossible – Fallout from 2018. If you're a fan of heart-pounding stunts, intricate plots, and charismatic heroes who never back down, this is the movie you absolutely need to watch. Trust me, once you hit play, you'll be glued to the screen, wondering how they pulled off those insane sequences. I'm going to walk you through everything you need to know about this film, from its stellar cast and visionary director, to the behind-the-scenes magic, the production challenges, and why it stands out as a pinnacle of modern action cinema. And don't worry, I'll keep it spoiler-free so you can experience the thrills firsthand. By the end of this, you'll be rushing to stream it or grab a Blu-ray. Let's jump right in and explore why Mission: Impossible – Fallout deserves a spot in your must-watch list. First off, let's set the stage for what this movie is all about. Mission: Impossible – Fallout is the sixth installment in the iconic Mission: Impossible franchise, which started back in 1996 with the original film starring Tom Cruise. This series is based on the classic 1960s TV show created by Bruce Geller, and it follows the adventures of Ethan Hunt, a super-skilled agent with the Impossible Missions Force, or IMF for short. In Fallout, Ethan and his team are thrust into a high-stakes mission to prevent a global catastrophe after a previous operation goes sideways. They're racing against time to recover dangerous nuclear materials that have fallen into the wrong hands, all while dealing with shady alliances, double crosses, and a mysterious group known as the Apostles. The story picks up right where the previous film, Rogue Nation, left off. But even if you haven't seen the earlier ones, you can jump in here, though I highly recommend binge-watching the whole series for the full effect. What makes this plot so compelling is how it blends espionage thriller elements with jaw-dropping action, creating a narrative that's as smart as it is explosive. It's not just about the bangs and booms, there's real emotional depth, with characters grappling with the consequences of their choices and the moral gray areas of their world. If you love stories that make you think while keeping your adrenaline pumping, this is gold. Now let's talk about the man at the helm, the director, Christopher McQuarrie. This guy is a powerhouse in Hollywood, and Fallout marks his second time directing a Mission: Impossible film after Rogue Nation in 2015. McQuarrie isn't just a director, he's also the screenwriter for this one, adapting the story from Bruce Geller's original TV concept. His background is fascinating. He won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay for The Usual Suspects back in 1995, which shows his knack for crafting twisty, intelligent plots. With Fallout, McQuarrie became the first director to return for a sequel in the franchise, bringing a consistent vision that elevates the series to new heights. He focuses on practical effects and real-world stunts, which gives the film an authentic feel that's rare in today's CGI-heavy blockbusters. Under his guidance, the movie clocks in at 147 minutes, but it flies by because every scene is packed with purpose. McQuarrie's style is all about building tension through meticulous pacing, slow burns leading to massive payoffs. If you're into directors who treat action as an art form, like a modern-day Hitchcock with explosions, McQuarrie is your guy. Watching Fallout, you'll see his fingerprints everywhere, from the clever dialogue to the seamless integration of character development amid the chaos. Of course, no Mission: Impossible film would be complete without Tom Cruise leading the charge as Ethan Hunt. Cruise has been the face of this franchise since day one, and at 56 years old during filming, he delivers one of his most physically demanding performances ever. Ethan is the ultimate everyman hero, resourceful, determined, and willing to risk it all for the greater good. Cruise's commitment is legendary. He insists on doing his own stunts, which adds an unparalleled level of realism. In Fallout, you'll see him sprinting across rooftops, dangling from helicopters, and performing death-defying jumps that will have you holding your breath. But it's not just the action. Cruise brings heart to Ethan, showing vulnerability and growth that makes you root for him even more. Alongside him is a stellar ensemble cast that brings depth and charisma to every role. Let's break down the key players. Ving Rhames returns as Luther Stickel, the tech wizard and loyal friend who's been with Ethan since the first film. Rhames brings a grounded, no-nonsense energy that's perfect for balancing the high-octane moments. Then there's Simon Pegg as Benji Dunn, the quirky hacker who provides comic relief without ever feeling forced. Pegg's timing is impeccable, and his chemistry with Cruise is one of the franchise's highlights. Rebecca Ferguson reprises her role as Ilsa Faust, the enigmatic MI6 agent from Rogue Nation. Ferguson is a force, tough, intelligent, and utterly captivating. Her presence adds layers of intrigue and strong female representation that's empowering and integral to the story. Sean Harris is back as the villainous Solomon Lane, whose cold, calculating demeanor sends chills down your spine. Harris nails the quiet menace, making Lane a memorable antagonist. New to the mix is Henry Cavill as August Walker, a CIA operative assigned to shadow Ethan. Cavill, fresh off his Superman role, brings a brooding intensity and physical prowess that's perfect for the part. His mustache even became a talking point during production. It caused reshoots for Justice League because he couldn't shave it off. Angela Bassett joins as Erica Sloan, the new CIA director, exuding authority and gravitas in every scene. She's a legend, with a career spanning from What's Love Got to Do With It to Black Panther, and she fits right into this world of spies. Vanessa Kirby makes her franchise debut as the White Widow, a mysterious arms dealer with a sharp wit and seductive charm. Kirby, who later won acclaim for The Crown, steals scenes with her poised performance. Michelle Monaghan returns as Julia Meade, Ethan's ex-wife, adding emotional stakes that ground the larger-than-life action. Alec Baldwin is back as Alan Hunley, the former CIA director turned IMF secretary, providing bureaucratic tension and eventual alliance. And don't forget Wes Bentley as Eric, a key figure in the plot, along with supporting roles from Frederick Schmidt as Zola, Christopher Joner as Niels Debruck, and even a cameo from Wolf Blitzer as himself in a clever news segment. The cast is rounded out by talented performers like Alex Benezek, Casper Philipson, and many others who fill out the world with authenticity. What ties them all together is the incredible chemistry. These actors bounce off each other like pros, making the team dynamics feel real and relatable. If you appreciate ensemble casts where every character serves the story, Fallout delivers in spades. Now, behind the camera, the production team is equally impressive. The film was produced by Tom Cruise himself through his company, TC Productions, along with J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot Productions, Christopher McQuarrie, and Jake Myers. Paramount Pictures distributed it, and the budget was around $178 to $180 million, a hefty sum, but every penny shows on screen. Filming took place across the globe, from Paris to London, Norway, New Zealand, and even the United Arab Emirates. The Paris sequences are particularly stunning, featuring chases through the city's iconic streets and landmarks. In London, they shut down major areas for stunts, and the Norway portions involved breathtaking mountain vistas for some of the most ambitious action ever filmed. One of the standout aspects is the cinematography by Rob Hardy, who captures the chaos with a dynamic, immersive style. Using IMAX cameras for key sequences, the film looks spectacular on big screens, with wide shots that make you feel like you're right in the middle of the action. The editing by Eddie Hamilton is razor sharp, keeping the pace relentless without ever feeling confusing. And let's not forget the score by Lorne Balfe, who steps in after Joe Kramer's work on Rogue Nation. Balfe incorporates the classic Mission Impossible theme by Lalo Schifrin while adding modern electronic and orchestral elements that amp up the tension. The sound design is top-notch too, with every punch, explosion, and revving engine hitting hard. Production wasn't without its challenges. Tom Cruise famously broke his ankle during a rooftop jump in London, halting filming for several weeks. But Cruise powered through, and they even used footage of the actual injury in the film. Talk about dedication. The helicopter chase in New Zealand involved Cruise learning to pilot the chopper himself, performing spirals and dives that no stunt double could replicate. Then there's the halo jump, high-altitude low opening, where Cruise and the crew jumped from 25,000 feet over Paris at dusk, capturing it in one continuous take after over 100 practice jumps. It's the first time a halo jump was filmed this way in a movie, and it's mind-blowing. The bathroom fight scene, featuring Cruise and Cavill, was choreographed to perfection by stunt coordinator Wade Eastwood, emphasizing brutal, realistic combat. The team trained rigorously, with Cavill bulking up and learning intricate moves. Vanessa Kirby prepared by studying real arms dealers and honing her accent. Rebecca Ferguson, a trained dancer, brought grace to her fight scenes, while Simon Pegg added humor through improvised lines. Even the costumes by Jeffrey Kurland reflect the characters: sleek suits for spies, tactical gear for action. On the technical side, the visual effects by DNEG blend seamlessly with practical stunts. They enhanced backgrounds and added subtle touches, but the core is real. The film's commitment to authenticity extends to locations. They built massive sets like a detailed Paris nightclub and used real vehicles for chases, including BMW motorcycles and helicopters. Fallout was released on July 27, 2018, after premiering in Paris on July 12th. It grossed over $791 million worldwide, making it the highest earning in the franchise at the time. Critics loved it, with a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes and praise for its action, direction, and performances. It earned nominations for Saturn Awards, Critics' Choice, and even BAFTAs for sound and visual effects. The stunt team won at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, recognizing the risky work. Why should you watch it? Because in a sea of superhero flicks and reboots, Fallout reminds us what pure, unadulterated action can be. It's empowering, showing that skill, teamwork, and perseverance can overcome impossible odds. It's entertaining from start to finish, with laughs, gasps, and cheers. Whether you're watching alone or with friends, it's a shared experience that sparks conversations about favorite scenes. Let's delve deeper into the franchise context. The Mission Impossible series has evolved from Brian De Palma's suspenseful original to John Woo's stylized sequel, J.J. Abrams' TV-like third entry, Brad Bird's animated flair in the fourth, and McQuarrie's grounded approach in the fifth and sixth. Fallout ties threads from previous films, rewarding longtime fans with callbacks to characters like Julia and Lane, but it stands alone as a self-contained thrill ride. Thematically, it explores trust, loyalty, and the cost of heroism. Ethan Hunt isn't invincible, he's human, making mistakes that have real repercussions. This adds weight to the spectacle, making you care about the outcomes. The villains are complex too, not cartoonish evil, but driven by ideologies that challenge the heroes' worldviews. Production trivia abounds. The title, Fallout, refers to nuclear threats and personal consequences. McQuarrie wrote the script during filming, adapting to locations and ideas on the fly. Cruise's ankle injury delayed the release from December 2017 to summer 2018, but it allowed for refinements. The IMAX release encouraged theater viewings, and the home video includes extras like commentaries and making-of features. The marketing was clever. Trailers teased stunts without spoiling, building hype. Posters featured Cruise in mid-action, emphasizing the real danger. Tie-ins included video games and merchandise, expanding the brand. In terms of impact, Fallout influenced action cinema, inspiring more practical stunts in films like John Wick and Bond. It boosted tourism to filming spots like Preikestolen in Norway, where the cliff scene was shot, though digitally enhanced for safety. For fans of tech, the gadgets are cool but realistic. No flying cars, just high-tech drones, masks, and comms that feel plausible. The fight choreography draws from martial arts like Krav Maga and boxing, trained by experts. Cast backstories add flavor. Tom Cruise, born in 1962, started with risky business and became a megastar. His Scientology ties are controversial, but his work ethic is undeniable. Henry Cavill from Jersey rose with the Tudors before DC roles. Rebecca Ferguson, Swedish, broke out with the White Queen. Vanessa Kirby's royal family connections helped her portray privilege. The film's diversity is noteworthy. Strong women, multicultural cast, global settings. It avoids stereotypes, focusing on universal themes. If you're into scores, Balfe's work includes Pacific Rim Uprising. He collaborated with Hans Zimmer. The theme's variations during chases are epic. If you're just joining us or if you're a longtime subscriber, today we're diving even deeper into what many call the absolute peak of the Mission Impossible franchise, Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. This isn't just another action flick. It's a masterclass in adrenaline, storytelling, and sheer cinematic ambition that makes you feel alive every single second. Picture this: Tom Cruise at his most fearless, pulling off stunts that had the whole world holding its breath, a director who knows exactly how to build tension until it explodes, and a cast that brings heart, humor, and intensity in equal measure. If you've seen it, you know why people rave about it years later. If you haven't, stick around, because by the time we're done here, you'll be convinced this is the one you need to experience right now. And as always, zero spoilers. I'm here to hype it up, give you all the juicy details, and explain exactly why Fallout stands head and shoulders above so many modern blockbusters. Let's start with the basics that make this film special right from the jump. Released on July 27, 2018, in the United States after a glamorous premiere in Paris on July 12th, this is the sixth chapter in the long-running Mission Impossible series. The franchise kicked off in 1996 with the first film directed by Brian De Palma, and it's grown into one of Hollywood's most reliable sources of pure entertainment. Fallout runs a solid 147 minutes, longer than most in the series, but it never drags because every moment is engineered for maximum impact. The budget? A hefty $178 to $180 million, with some estimates putting promotion and distribution costs adding another $150 million on top. That's big money, but when you see it on screen, you understand every dollar went straight into making something extraordinary. And the payoff? Worldwide box office of $791.1 million, making it not only the highest-grossing film in the entire Mission Impossible series at the time, but also the eighth highest-grossing movie of 2018 overall. It shattered franchise records, proving audiences were hungry for this kind of high-stakes, real-world spectacle. Critics went wild, too. It holds a stunning 97% or 98% on Rotten Tomatoes depending on the exact tally, often cited as the best reviewed in the series, with praise pouring in for its sleek pacing, insane action, and emotional depth. Metacritic scores were strong, and audiences gave it an A on CinemaScore, the first in the franchise to hit that mark. It picked up nominations across major award circuits: Saturn Awards for Best Action Film, Critics' Choice nods for stunts and visual effects, even BAFTA consideration for sound mixing and editing. The stunt performers themselves earned Screen Actors Guild recognition because what you're watching isn't CGI trickery. It's real people risking it all. That authenticity is what sets Fallout apart in an era where so many films lean hard on green screens. Now, let's talk about the visionary behind it all. Christopher McQuarrie. This man is a legend in his own right. He won an Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for The Usual Suspects way back in 1995, proving he can write twists that leave you stunned. He directed Rogue Nation in 2015, the fifth film, and became the first director to return for a sequel in the series. McQuarrie also wrote Fallout, pulling from Bruce Geller's original 1960s TV concept while injecting his signature style: intelligent espionage mixed with visceral, practical action. He treats every sequence like a chess game, slowly building pressure, then unleashing chaos in ways that feel earned and earned hard. His philosophy? Keep it real. No over-the-top CGI where it doesn't need to be. He uses IMAX cameras for key moments, giving the film that massive, immersive scale that makes you feel like you're right there dangling from a helicopter or sprinting across rooftops. McQuarrie rewrote parts of the script on the fly during production, adapting to locations, injuries, and new ideas, which only made the final product tighter and more dynamic. Speaking of that production, oh man, the stories are insane. Principal photography kicked off in April 2017 and spanned the globe. Paris for those iconic city chases, London for high-speed pursuits, New Zealand and Norway for breathtaking natural landscapes, including a famous cliff that proved dangerous even to scout, and the United Arab Emirates for the climactic aerial work due to strict French aviation rules limiting sunset filming windows. The team dealt with everything from massive set builds, like recreating detailed interiors and sound stages, to shutting down real streets and landmarks. Cinematographer Rob Hardy captured it all with a mix of 35mm film and digital, blending classic grit with modern clarity. Editor Eddie Hamilton kept the cuts razor sharp, ensuring the 147 minutes fly by. Lorne Balfe delivered a thunderous score that weaves in Lalo Schifrin's legendary Mission Impossible theme while adding pulsing electronics and orchestral swells that ramp up the tension perfectly. But let's get to what everyone talks about: the stunts. Tom Cruise doesn't just star, he's the driving force. At 55 during filming, he was in peak physical condition, training relentlessly and insisting on performing everything himself. One of the most talked about moments? The Halo jump, high-altitude low opening from 25,000 feet. This military-style skydive was the first stunt planned but the last filmed, requiring a full year of prep. Cruise, Henry Cavill, and the camera operator did over 106 actual jumps to nail just 3 usable takes. They built custom-lit oxygen helmets with RAF help and used one of the world's largest wind tunnels for rehearsals. Cruise did 5 skydives a day during training, morning, afternoon, dusk, to master freefall speeds of 265 to 320 kilometers per hour. Castmates like Simon Pegg admitted they worried daily if Cruise would make it back alive. It's mind-blowing stuff that adds real stakes to every frame. Then there's the helicopter sequence in New Zealand. Cruise learned to pilot the chopper himself, performing tight spirals, dives, and chases over stunning terrain. He manned the camera too, capturing shots no double could replicate. The bathroom fight? A brutal close-quarters brawl that was supposed to take 4 days but stretched to 4 weeks of intense choreography and rehearsal. Stunt coordinator Wade Eastwood drew from real combat styles like Krav Maga, making it feel raw and grounded. Cruise broke his ankle during a London rooftop jump, slamming into a wall when he missed slightly. The plan was for him to almost miss and pull up, but the injury was real. He limped through the take, and production halted for weeks, some say 7. That delay actually helped McQuarrie refine unfinished scenes, turning a setback into an opportunity. Even the floor in one fight scene was foam rubber disguised as tiles for safety, tiny details that show the care put in. The cast is stacked and firing on all cylinders. Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt is the anchor, relentless, resourceful, and showing real vulnerability as the weight of his choices piles up. Ving Rhames returns as Luther Stickel, the rock-solid tech expert whose loyalty shines brighter than ever. Simon Pegg's Benji Dunn brings just the right amount of humor without undercutting the tension. His chemistry with Cruise is gold. Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust is magnetic, fierce, complex, and a true equal in every scene. She did many of her own stunts, drawing on her dance background for graceful yet powerful movement. Henry Cavill joins as August Walker, the CIA's no-nonsense operative. His physical presence is intimidating, and that infamous mustache, which caused Justice League reshoots, became part of Hollywood lore. Sean Harris reprises Solomon Lane, delivering chilling, understated menace. He's the first recurring villain in the series, adding layers of ideology and threat. Angela Bassett commands every frame as CIA Director Erica Sloan, authoritative and sharp. Vanessa Kirby debuts as the White Widow, Alana Mitsopoulos, an elegant arms dealer with wit and danger. She's the daughter of Max from the 1996 original, a clever callback. Michelle Monaghan returns as Julia Meade, bringing emotional grounding. Alec Baldwin is back as Alan Hunley, adding bureaucratic friction that evolves into something more. Supporting roles fill out the world beautifully. Wes Bentley as Eric, Frederick Schmidt as Zola, the White Widow's brother, Christopher Joner as Niels Daybrook, and many others like Alex Benezek, Casper Philipson, and even Wolf Blitzer in a fun news cameo. The ensemble feels lived in, friends who trust each other, allies with agendas, enemies with motives that make sense. It's rare for an action film to make you care this much about everyone on screen. Production trivia keeps coming. The title Fallout nods to nuclear consequences and personal repercussions from past decisions. McQuarrie used the Odyssey as inspiration for epic scope. There were 6 pregnancies among crew and cast during filming, different women, 13 helicopters involved, thousands of setups, and multiple hiatuses. Visual effects by DNEG enhanced without overpowering. Practical stunts stay front and center. Costumes by Jeffrey Kurland reflect character status, sleek for spies, tactical for ops. Why watch Fallout? Because it's empowering. It celebrates skill, teamwork, and never giving up, even when the odds are stacked. It's funny when it needs to be, tense when it counts, and thrilling from opening to end. In a world of formulaic blockbusters, this feels fresh, practical effects, smart writing, and a star who still pushes limits. It's influenced everything from later Bonds to John Wick sequels, proving real stunts matter. If you're still here with me, that means you're as hooked on this movie as I am. Let's keep the momentum going and peel back even more layers on why Mission Impossible Fallout from 2018 is not just a great action movie, but arguably the best one in the entire franchise and one of the standout blockbusters of the decade. We're talking about a film that doesn't just entertain, it exhilarates, inspires, and leaves you buzzing long after the credits roll. Whether you're a die-hard Tom Cruise fan, a stunt junkie, or someone who just loves a smart, high-octane thriller, this is the one that delivers on every level. I'll keep building on everything we've covered so far. No spoilers, just pure facts, trivia, production secrets, and reasons it'll blow your mind when you watch it. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, because we're going long again to give you all the ammo for that epic review video you're scripting. One thing that really sets Fallout apart is how it turned production challenges into strengths. The film faced a famously troubled shoot in some ways, originally slated to start earlier, but salary negotiations pushed it to spring 2017. Then came the big one, Tom Cruise's ankle injury during that London rooftop jump. He was meant to leap from one building to another, clip the edge slightly for drama, and keep running. But he hit the wall harder than planned, fracturing his right ankle in 2 places. The footage of the actual break is in the movie. You can see him limp through the rest of the take because he powered through to finish the shot. Production shut down for about 6 to 9 weeks. Reports vary slightly, but it was a significant hiatus. Cruise later called this particular stunt one of the easiest he'd done for the film, which says everything about the level of insanity in the rest. Director Christopher McQuarrie used that downtime wisely. He refined unfinished scenes, tweaked the script, which started filming with only about 33 pages written, believe it or not, and turned a potential disaster into tighter storytelling. That resilience mirrors Ethan's character. Setbacks happen, but you adapt, push forward, and come out stronger. The Halo jump sequence is legendary for good reason. Planned first but filmed last, it required a full year of prep. Cruise, Henry Cavill, and the skydiving camera operator, Craig O'Brien, who had to stay exactly 3 feet away, did 106 actual jumps to get just 3 usable takes. They only had a 3-minute dusk window each day for perfect lighting, so timing was everything. Strict French aviation rules meant they couldn't shoot it over Paris. They relocated to the United Arab Emirates. To make faces visible in freefall, the team built custom-lit oxygen helmets with help from the RAF and even constructed one of the world's largest wind tunnels for rehearsals. Cruise did 5 skydives daily, morning 3 in the afternoon, 1 at dusk. Castmates like Simon Pegg visited and admitted they were terrified daily, thinking, "Is this the day he doesn't make it?" It's not hyperbole. This is military-grade stuff. The first time an actor performed and filmed a full Halo jump like that on camera. The result? One of the most immersive, continuous sequences in cinema history. Then there's the helicopter climax in New Zealand. Cruise learned to pilot the chopper himself, executing tight spirals, near misses, and dives over rugged terrain. Aerial coordinator Mark Wolf, a Vietnam vet with decades of credits, Black Hawk Down, Bond films, Star Wars, helped make it possible. They imported American-registered helicopters, got FAA experimental category approval, and convinced New Zealand authorities to allow the risky maneuvers. The fight on the mountain after the crash? Brutal choreography blending real combat moves. The bathroom brawl with Cavill stretched from 4 days to 4 weeks of rehearsal. Raw, grounded, no wires, just skill and intensity. Every major set piece prioritizes practical effects. Real locations, real vehicles, BMW bikes in Paris, massive chases, real danger. Visual effects from DNEG polish edges without stealing the show. Trivia keeps piling up. The script evolved on the fly, McQuarrie wrote as they went, incorporating ideas from locations and cast. 6 pregnancies happened among cast and crew during filming. They used 13 helicopters total. The Kashmir finale was shot in New Zealand and Norway. That iconic cliff is Preikestolen, pulpit rock, digitally enhanced for safety. The plutonium cores in the plot? Scientifically off. Real ones are super heavy, plutonium denser than lead, iridium shielding adds more weight. But hey, it's movie magic. The vintage reel-to-reel briefing device in one scene nods to the classic TV show while twisting it. Wolf Blitzer's cameo as himself adds a fun news layer realism. Awards-wise, Fallout cleaned up where it mattered. It won Best Action/Adventure Film at the Saturn Awards, Best Action Movie at Critics' Choice, and snagged a Sierra Award for Best Action Film from Las Vegas critics. Nominations included BAFTA for Best Sound, Critics' Choice for Visual Effects, Saturn nods for Best Actor, Cruise, Best Writing, McQuarrie, and Special Effects. The stunt ensemble got SAG recognition. No Oscars. Action films rarely do, but it proved critical love for spectacle done right. 97 to 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, a cinema score from audiences. It was the first in the series to hit that audience grade. Box office tells the story too. It opened huge, $155.8 million worldwide its first weekend, beating Rogue Nation's record. Domestically, $220.2 million. Internationally, $571 million. China alone, $181.2 million. South Korea, $49.8 million. Japan, $42.4 million. UK, $31.1 million. France, $27.1 million. India, $15.9 million. Total $791.1 million. Some sources say $824 million with later tallies, eighth highest of 2018. It overperformed everywhere, especially Asia and Europe, thanks to word of mouth on those stunts. The home release is gold, 4K Blu-ray with 3 commentaries, Macquarie/Cruise, Macquarie/editor Eddie Hamilton, composer Lorne Balfe, a 7-part making-of doc covering the injury and stunts, deleted scenes montage. Watch in high res. The practical details pop. Why keep coming back to Fallout? It's empowering cinema. Ethan isn't superhuman. He's skilled, loyal, flawed, paying prices for choices. The team dynamic shines. Luther's wisdom, Benji's heart, Ilsa's edge, Walker's intensity. Villains like Lane feel ideological, not cartoonish. Themes of trust, fallout from past missions, redemption hit hard amid the chaos. Macquarie's direction treats action as character. Every punch, jump, chase reveals something. Balfe's score elevates tension. Hardy's cinematography immerses you. We're not done yet. Let's keep rolling with more reasons why Mission Impossible. Fallout from 2018 is the kind of movie that redefines what blockbuster action can be. If you've been following along, you already know about the insane stunts, the star power, and that flawless direction from Christopher McQuarrie. But there's so much more depth here. The little production secrets, the global adventure of filming, the way it ties into the whole franchise legacy, and why it still feels fresh and thrilling years later. This is the film that proved practical. Real-world risks can outshine any CGI spectacle, and I'm here to unpack even more of it so your video script hits every angle. No spoilers, just facts, hype, and inspiration to get people watching. One of the coolest things about Fallout is how it became a showcase for what practical really means in modern movies. Tom Cruise didn't just do a few stunts, he tackled 4 massive, elaborate set pieces that pushed every limit. The Halo jump we keep coming back to, the helmet-free motorcycle chase tearing through Paris traffic, including that wild wrong-way loop around the Arc de Triomphe, the extended London rooftop foot chase where he broke his ankle, and the helicopter piloting and chase that had him flying the chopper himself. Cruise got his private pilot's license, commercial ratings, and kept training throughout production just for that sequence. Aerial coordinator Mark Wolf, a veteran from films like Black Hawk Down, helped orchestrate it all, importing helicopters and getting special approvals. The crash aftermath fight on the mountain. Pure, brutal choreography, no shortcuts. These aren't isolated moments. They're woven into the story, so every leap, dive, and punch reveals character and raises stakes. The Paris motorcycle sequence deserves its own spotlight. Inspired by a short film called Rendezvous about high-speed urban chases, McQuarrie and Cruise wanted something unprecedented in the city. They shot at real speeds, up to 100 miles per hour, through actual streets, dodging traffic with minimal closures. Cruise rode against oncoming cars, no helmet for visibility in shots, relying on skill honed from years of training. The team studied real pursuits to make it feel authentic, not cartoonish. It's one of those sequences where you can feel the wind, hear the engines, and sense the danger, because it's all happening for real. Behind the scenes, the making-of material is a treasure trove. The home release includes a 7-part documentary called Behind the Fallout, the making of MI6, breaking down story, characters, performances, stunts, photography, sets, and locations. It dives deep into the ankle injury, showing how Cruise finished the take limping for real, then used downtime to polish the script. There's footage of the wind tunnel builds for Halo practice, the custom-lit oxygen helmets with RAF help, so faces show in freefall, and endless rehearsals. Editor Eddie Hamilton talks about sifting through 70 hours of footage for the helicopter climax, whittling it down step by step to that perfect 7.5-minute rush. Cinematographer Rob Hardy shot mostly on 35mm anamorphic film for that gritty, immersive look, scanned to high-res for IMAX punch. The doc emphasizes McQuarrie's philosophy: real locations, real risks, real teamwork. Production stats paint a picture of the scale. Over 3,000 setups, 13 helicopters involved, 4 weeks of aerial work, filming across 3 continents: Europe, New Zealand, UAE, 2 winters, and 5 hiatuses, including the big one from the injury. 6 pregnancies among cast and crew, different women each time, which added its own logistical fun. The script started filming with only about 33 pages written. McQuarrie made it up as they went, adapting to ideas, locations, and setbacks. That seat-of-the-pants writing kept everything dynamic and responsive. Critical reception was off the charts. It hit 98% on Rotten Tomatoes from 444 reviews, the highest in the franchise, and 87 on Metacritic for universal acclaim. 53 critics ranked it in their top 10 of 2018. Audiences gave it an A on CinemaScore, the first in the series. Praise focused on the direction, screenplay, cinematography, action, score, and performances, calling it sleek, fun, and the best installment yet. It won Best Action Movie at the Critics' Choice Awards, Best Action/Adventure at Saturn's, Sierra Award for Best Action Film from Las Vegas Critics, and more. Nominations rolled in for visual effects, sound, editing, even stunt ensemble at the SAGs. No major Oscars, action rarely does, but it proved the genre can be elite. Box office was massive, $791.1 million worldwide. Some tallies push $824 million with later runs. The franchise high until later entries. Domestic $220.2 million, international $571 million, strong in China, $181 million, South Korea, Japan, UK, France, India. It opened with a franchise record $61 million domestic weekend plus $92 million overseas, holding strong with legs fueled by word of mouth. Budget around $178 million ballooned a bit from the delay, but profitability was solid thanks to global appeal. The film's legacy? It set a new bar for practical action, influenced sequels in the franchise and beyond, more emphasis on real stunts, higher physical stakes. It rewards rewatches, callbacks to earlier films, Julia's Arc, Lane's Return, IMF History, thematic depth on consequences and loyalty. The score by Lorne Balfe remixes the classic theme brilliantly, building tension. Sound design hits hard. Every impact, rotor thump, engine roar. Trivia nuggets. The plutonium plot tweaks real science for drama. Cores are heavy, shielded, but movie logic wins. The briefing device nods to the 60s TV show with a vintage twist. Cavill's mustache drama. It delayed Justice League reshoots. The Grand Palais entry stunt got cut, but the film tested longer versions. Shorter cuts scored worse, so they kept the runtime. Cruise shot some scenes post-injury with a box to rest his foot off camera. This movie is empowering because it shows heroism through effort, not invincibility. Ethan's team, flawed, loyal, human, beats impossible odds together. It's funny, tense, emotional, explosive. In a franchise full of highlights, Fallout often tops lists as the peak. If you're still tuned in, that means you're ready for another deep dive into the whirlwind that is Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, the film that took the franchise to stratospheric heights and left audiences worldwide cheering for more. We've covered the epic stunts, the powerhouse cast, the visionary direction, and those nail-biting production stories. But there's always more to unpack, because this movie is layered like a Master Spy's cover story. It's the kind of cinematic achievement that doesn't just entertain. It inspires you to appreciate the sheer craft of filmmaking, the dedication of everyone involved, and the timeless thrill of a well-told action tale. Whether you're prepping for a movie night or just love hearing about Hollywood magic, stick with me as we explore even further why this is the must-watch that keeps giving. Let's keep the energy high and dive into some fresh angles on what makes Fallout an enduring classic. One aspect we haven't touched on enough is the incredible sound design and how it elevates every moment. The team behind the audio, sound designers James H. Mather and Christopher Monroe, along with the mixing crew, created a sonic landscape that's as immersive as the visuals. From the thundering rotors of those helicopters in the New Zealand sequences to the bone-crunching impacts in the fight scenes, every sound feels visceral and real. They recorded actual BMW motorcycles revving through Paris streets, authentic gunfire echoes in controlled environments, and even the subtle whoosh of air during the halo jump to make you feel the freefall. The film was mixed in Dolby Atmos, which means if you watch it with a good home theater setup, you'll hear layers of audio coming from all directions. dialogue crisp in the center, explosions booming from the sides, and ambient tension building from everywhere. It's not just noise, it's storytelling through sound, heightening suspense in quiet moments and amplifying chaos in the big ones. Lorne Balfe's score ties it all together, with those electronic pulses during chases and swelling strings for emotional beats. If you're an audiophile or just someone who appreciates how sound can make a movie feel alive, Fallout is a feast for the ears. Let's circle back to the cast and give some love to their individual preparations and backstories, because these performers didn't just show up, they embodied their roles. Starting with Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Born Thomas Cruise Mapother IV in 1962, he grew up in a nomadic family, attending over a dozen schools before breaking into acting with Risky Business in 1983. By the time Fallout rolled around, Cruise had produced and starred in all 6 Mission Impossible films, turning it into his passion project. For this one, he trained for a full year on the Halo jump alone, plus months of helicopter piloting lessons, logging over 2,000 hours in the air across his career. His ankle injury? He rehabbed it aggressively, returning to set ahead of schedule because he couldn't stand the delay. Cruise's real-life daredevil spirit mirrors Ethan's never-quit attitude, and it's what makes his performance so authentic. Ving Rhames as the steadfast Luther Stickel has been a franchise staple since 1996. Born in Harlem in 1959, Rhames studied at Juilliard and rose through roles in films like Pulp Fiction. For Fallout, he focused on Luther's evolution from tech support to emotional core, adding depth through subtle expressions and loyal banter. Simon Pegg, the hilarious Benji Dunn, joined in the third film and has become the comic heart. Born in England in 1970, Pegg's background in comedy, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, lets him improvise lines that lighten tense scenes without derailing them. He prepared by learning real hacking lingo and gadget handling, making Benji's nerdy expertise believable. Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa Faust is a standout, her second outing after Rogue Nation. Born in Sweden in 1983, Ferguson trained in dance and acting, breaking out with the White Queen TV series. For Fallout, she did intensive fight training, drawing on her ballet background for fluid, powerful moves. She's praised for bringing complexity to Ilsa, a character who's tough but vulnerable, adding strong female energy to the spy world. Henry Cavill, stepping in as August Walker, bulked up to 230 pounds through grueling workouts. Born in Jersey in 1983, Cavill's Superman role prepped him for physical demands, but Fallout let him play a more grounded, intense operative. That mustache? Grown for authenticity, it famously caused CGI headaches for Justice League reshoots. Warner Brothers had to digitally remove it, costing millions. Sean Harris returns as Solomon Lane, the chilling antagonist. Born in England in 1966, Harris method acted his way through, staying in character with a raspy voice and isolated demeanor. Angela Bassett as Erica Sloane brings Queen-level authority. Born in 1958, her iconic roles in What's Love Got to Do With It and Black Panther make her perfect for the no-nonsense CIA boss. Vanessa Kirby as the White Widow dazzles in her debut. Born in 1988 to a surgeon father and magazine editor mother, she studied real arms dealers for her poised, seductive vibe. Michelle Monaghan reprises Julia Meade, adding heartfelt grounding. Her chemistry with Cruise stems from their long franchise history. The supporting players deserve shouts too. Alec Baldwin as Alan Hunley, evolving from skeptic to ally. Wes Bentley as Eric, bringing quiet intensity. Frederick Schmidt as Zola, the protective brother. Christopher Joner as Nils Daybrook, a key operative. Even smaller roles like Alex Benezek as a French policewoman or Casper Philipson in a cameo add texture. The casting by Mindy Marin ensured diversity and chemistry. Global accents, varied backgrounds, making the world feel expansive. On the franchise front, Fallout masterfully weaves in elements from previous films without requiring homework. It references the first movie's NOC list, the third's Rabbit's Foot, and directly continues from Rogue Nation's Syndicate Fallout. Director-wise, McQuarrie's return after Rogue Nation created consistency, the first repeat Helmer, allowing deeper character arcs. Compared to earlier entries, De Palma's 1996 original was a suspense thriller. Woo's 2000 sequel stylized slow-mo action, Abrams' 2006 third added emotional stakes, Bird's 2011 fourth brought spectacle like the Burj Khalifa climb, McQuarrie's 2015 Fifth grounded it in realism. Fallout synthesizes it all: brains, heart, brawn. Fan reactions were electric. Social media buzzed with stunt awe, theaters erupted in cheers. It sparked memes about Cruise's running. He sprints over 500 meters in one scene. Cavill's reloading arms in the bathroom fight, a viral moment, and endless debates on best sequences. The film's influence? It pushed competitors like the Bond series, No Time to Die upped practical stunts, and John Wick chapters to emphasize realism. Even non-action films borrowed its pacing techniques. More trivia. The White Widow's character nods to the original film's Max, Vanessa Redgrave, her mother. The Apostles Group draws from real-world ideologies without direct parallels. Costumes included over 50 tailored suits for crews, tactical vests with hidden padding for safety. The Paris nightclub set was built full-scale, with real extras for immersion. Marketing hyped the stunts. Trailers showed the ankle break frame by frame, building authenticity buzz. Why does this matter for you? Because Fallout isn't disposable entertainment. It's a reminder that movies can be artful escapism, blending spectacle with substance. It empowers viewers by showing ordinary people, well, super skilled ones, overcoming chaos through wit and will. In our fast-paced world, it's a perfect unwind. Laugh at Benji's quips, gasp at the jumps, root for the team. We're still rolling strong on this epic breakdown of Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, the movie that many fans, critics, and even hardcore action enthusiasts call the gold standard of the entire franchise. If you've been with me through the previous parts, you already know the insane real-world stunts, the unbreakable cast chemistry, Christopher McQuarrie's razor-sharp direction, the global filming chaos, and how every setback turned into a win. But there's still so much richness left to explore. The themes that give the film real weight, the way it pays homage to the original TV series while pushing boundaries, behind-the-scenes secrets that make rewatches even more rewarding, and why this particular entry feels like the perfect culmination of everything the series has built over 2 decades. Let's keep the hype alive and dig even deeper so your review video can cover every corner and leave viewers desperate to hit play. One of the things that elevates Fallout beyond typical blockbuster fare is its thematic depth. At its core, this isn't just about stopping bad guys from blowing up the world. It's about the personal cost of being a hero in a world where every choice has fallout. Ethan Hunt has always been the guy who sacrifices everything for the mission, but here we see the toll it takes. Fractured relationships, lingering guilt, the constant question of whether the ends justify the means. The film quietly asks what loyalty really means. Loyalty to your team, to your country, to your own moral code. It explores trust in a profession built on deception, showing how even the closest allies can have hidden agendas. These ideas aren't preached. They're woven into the dialogue, the quiet moments between explosions, and the way characters look at each other after a close call. McQuarrie handles it with restraint. No heavy-handed speeches, just earned emotion that makes you care more than in most action films. That's why people say Fallout has heart. The spectacle is massive, but the human stakes feel real and resonant. It also serves as a beautiful bridge between the classic Mission Impossible TV show and the modern big-screen saga. The original 1966 to 1973 series was all about intricate heists, gadgetry, and team synergy. No single hero stealing the show. The films started with more lone wolf Ethan vibes, but Fallout brings it full circle. The IMF team is front and center again. Luther, Benji, Ilsa, even returning faces like Julia and Alan Hunley all get meaningful arcs. The self-destructing message device gets a clever update. The classic theme gets remixed in thrilling new ways, and there's even a subtle nod to the tape recorder aesthetic in one briefing scene. McQuarrie clearly respects the source material while evolving it, making the movie feel like a love letter to both old-school espionage and contemporary high-stakes action. Rewatch value is off the charts, and part of that comes from the layers of foreshadowing and callbacks you only catch on repeat viewings. Without spoiling anything, pay attention to small details early on. A glance, a line of dialogue, an object in the background. They all pay off later in ways that feel clever, not forced. The action sequences themselves reward multiple watches because they're so densely choreographed. You notice new beats in the fights, new angles in the chases, new ways the camera moves to heighten tension. The Paris motorcycle pursuit, for example, has layers of traffic management, precise timing, and background action that become more impressive each time. The helicopter sequence? Every spiral and near miss reveals more about the pilot's skill and the editing precision. It's the kind of film that gets better the more you know it. More production gems that deserve a spotlight. The Paris sequences involved closing the Pont des Arts Morts Bridge and parts of the Champs-Élysées, massive logistical feats coordinated with French authorities. They had to time shoots around real traffic patterns and sunset windows because the golden hour lighting was non-negotiable for the mood. In Norway, the team scouted Pulpit Rock, Preikestolen, but built safety rigs and used digital enhancements to make the cliff edge work feasible without endangering anyone. The Kashmir finale location was scouted in India, but ultimately filmed in New Zealand for weather and permit reasons. Those snow-capped peaks and misty valleys give the climax an epic, almost mythic scale. Every location wasn't just a backdrop, it shaped the story. Urban chaos in Paris, isolation in the mountains, high-altitude tension in the sky. The visual effects team at DNAG deserves huge credit for restraint. They handled compositing for the halo jump, blending multiple takes into one seamless freefall, enhanced backgrounds in crowded sequences, removed safety wires, and added subtle atmospheric details like dust and lens flares. But the rule was always practical first. Stunts, vehicles, fights, all real. That philosophy is why the film feels grounded even when it's going 200 miles an hour or falling from the stratosphere. Fan communities still dissect it years later. Online forums break down frame-by-frame analyses of the bathroom fight. Those reloading arm movements became an instant meme. The Halo oxygen masks, how they were engineered for visibility, and Cruise's sprinting form. He's clocked at speeds over 17 miles per hour in some takes. People share side-by-side comparisons of rehearsal footage versus final cuts, showing how many takes were needed for perfection. The injury footage, when Cruise hits the wall and keeps going, has become legendary proof of commitment. Even the marketing campaign was smart. Trailers focused on real danger, interviews emphasized no green screen, and the poster tagline, "Some missions are not a choice," hit the emotional core perfectly. In terms of cultural impact, Fallout reminded Hollywood that audiences still crave authenticity. Post-2018, you saw more franchises doubling down on practical work. Think the John Wick series finale, Top Gun, Maverick, which Cruise also starred in and produced, and even later, mission entries building on this blueprint. It proved that big budgets can fund real spectacle instead of just digital fireworks. For your video script, lean into these emotional and legacy angles. Talk about how the film makes you feel the weight of Ethan's world, how it honors the TV roots while innovating, and how rewatches unlock new appreciation. Show side-by-side clips, fair use, of prep versus execution if you can. Encourage viewers to watch the making of extras. They're packed with stories that make the final film even more impressive. This movie isn't just entertainment. It's a testament to what humans can achieve when they refuse to settle for good enough. It's thrilling, smart, funny, moving, and flat-out exhilarating. If you haven't seen it in a while, or if you've never seen it at all, do yourself a favor. Clear your schedule, grab the best sound system you have, and dive in. You won't just watch a movie, you'll experience one of the great modern action masterpieces. We're deep into this love letter to Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. And honestly, I could talk about this movie for hours because every layer reveals something new to admire. We've gone over the death-defying stunts that Tom Cruise performed himself, the way Christopher McQuarrie turned production nightmares into cinematic gold, the stacked cast that brings real heart and humor, the global shoot that spanned continents and cultures, the themes of loyalty and consequence that give the action real emotional weight, and how it honors the franchise's roots while pushing it forward. But let's keep going, because if you're building that killer review and information video, you want every possible angle so viewers walk away thinking, "I have to watch this right now." No spoilers, just more fuel for the fire, more reasons this film stands as one of the greatest action movies ever made. Let's talk about pacing, because Fallout is a masterclass in rhythm. At 147 minutes, it's one of the longer entries, yet it never feels bloated. McQuarrie and editor Eddie Hamilton crafted a structure that breathes perfectly. Quiet, tense buildups that let you catch your breath and connect with the characters, then explosive releases that hit like a freight train. Those slower moments, conversations in dimly lit rooms, stolen glances across a crowded space, the weight of a decision hanging in the air, are just as gripping as the set pieces. They give the action context and make the payoffs land harder. It's a rare action film where silence and dialogue are weapons, not filler. When the music swells and the tempo ramps up, your pulse races because you've earned it. That balance is why people say the movie flies by despite the length. It's engineered for maximum engagement from frame one to the final frame. The cinematography by Rob Hardy deserves its own standing ovation. Hardy shot much of the film on 35mm anamorphic lenses, giving it that rich, textured look with beautiful lens flares, shallow depth of field and character moments, and wide, immersive vistas in the action. The IMAX sequences, especially the halo jump and helicopter work, were captured with massive format cameras. So when you see it projected big or in high res at home, the detail is insane. Individual raindrops on a windshield during a chase, beads of sweat on faces mid-fight, the texture of rock faces as Cruz clings for life. Hardy used natural light wherever possible, especially in Paris at dusk and in the Norwegian mountains, creating golden hour glows and dramatic shadows that make every frame feel cinematic. It's not flashy for flashy's sake. The camera moves with purpose. Handheld intimacy in fights, sweeping tracking shots in pursuits, steady long takes that let you feel the physicality. Another thing that makes Fallout special is its sense of scale without losing intimacy. The threats are global, nuclear-level danger, shadowy organizations, international alliances, but the story stays personal. It's about one man's choices affecting the people he cares about most. That contrast keeps you invested. The world might end, but what really hurts is the thought of letting down Luther, Benji, or Ilsa. The film never sacrifices character for spectacle. Instead, spectacle serves character. Every big moment reveals something about Ethan or his team, their fears, their strengths, their unbreakable bond. Let's shine a light on some of the smaller, often overlooked details that fans obsess over. The gadgets are dialed back compared to earlier films, no ridiculous masks that fooled DNA scanners, but the ones that appear feel plausible and cool. Compact comms devices, high-tech surveillance tools, a few clever disguises that rely more on acting than tech. The practical props add realism. The wardrobe evolution is subtle but smart. Ethan's jackets get more worn and tactical as the story progresses, reflecting his journey. Background extras and crowd scenes aren't just filler. Many were choreographed to react realistically to the chaos, adding layers to the world-building. Even the vehicles tell stories. BMW motorcycles chosen for their agility and iconic look. The specific helicopter model picked for its maneuverability and menace. The international flavor is another strength. Filming in real Paris streets gave the chases an authentic French energy. Narrow alleys, roundabouts, landmarks flashing by. The New Zealand and Norway locations brought raw, elemental beauty to the climax. Towering cliffs, swirling fog, endless skies. The UAE for the aerial work added that vast desert isolation. Every place feels lived in, not just a green screen backdrop. The cast's accents and cultural touches, French police uniforms, Middle Eastern architecture glimpses, Nordic wilderness, make the globe-trotting feel genuine. Long-term legacy keeps growing. Fallout is frequently ranked as the best in the series on fan polls, IMDb user lists, Rotten Tomatoes audience scores, and even in retrospectives from outlets like Empire, Collider, and IGN. It proved the franchise could age gracefully. Cruz in his mid-50s delivering career-best physical work, and set the template for later entries to chase even bigger practical feats. It also showed studios that investing in real stunts pays off critically and commercially. The ripple effect is still felt in how action directors talk about going practical as the new gold standard. If you're scripting your video, here's a killer structure tip. Open with the hook of the most dangerous stunts ever filmed, then layer in cast stories, production war tales, thematic depth, technical wizardry, and close with why it's rewatchable forever. Throw in fun facts like Tom Cruise broke his ankle and kept rolling, or 106 skydives for 3 perfect takes to keep viewers hooked. End by challenging them. If you think action movies are all the same, watch Fallout and prepare to have your mind changed. This film is pure adrenaline with soul. It's the rare blockbuster that makes you feel something: pride in human achievement, excitement for what's possible on screen, gratitude for a team that refused to cut corners. Whether you're watching alone on a big TV with friends yelling at the screen or introducing someone new to the series, it delivers every time. If you're still hanging in there with me on this marathon celebration of Mission Impossible Fallout from 2018, then you're clearly as obsessed with this masterpiece as I am. And that's exactly the energy we need, because there's genuinely no bottom to how much there is to unpack about why this film feels like the absolute pinnacle of modern action cinema. We've talked about the bone-crushing practical stunts that Tom Cruise risked life and limb to perform, the way Christopher McQuarrie masterfully balanced breakneck pacing with genuine emotional beats, the ensemble cast that turns a team of spies into a family you root for with every fiber of your being, the globe-trotting production that turned real cities and mountains into living, breathing characters in their own right, the themes of trust, sacrifice, and the inescapable fallout of every decision that give the explosions real meaning, and the technical wizardry, from anamorphic lenses catching golden hour magic to Dolby Atmos wrapping you in every rotor thump and fist impact, that makes every rewatch feel like discovering new treasures. But let's push even further into what makes this movie linger in your mind long after the credits roll, and why it deserves to be called not just great, but transformative for anyone who loves films that dare to go bigger, bolder, and more human all at once. Consider how Fallout turns the very idea of impossible into something profoundly personal and relatable, even though the stakes are apocalyptic. Ethan Hunt isn't a superhero with plot armor. He's a man who's made mistakes, lost people, carried guilt like a backpack he can't drop, and still chooses to run toward the fire every single time because walking away isn't in his DNA. That internal conflict, the push-pull between doing what's right for the world and protecting the tiny circle of people he actually lets close, mirrors real-life dilemmas in a way few action films bother to explore. McQuarrie doesn't beat you over the head with philosophy. He lets it emerge organically through quiet exchanges, loaded silences, and the way a character's eyes change when they realize the cost of the next move. It's that undercurrent of humanity that turns what could have been just another loud summer tentpole into something that sticks with you, makes you think about loyalty in your own life, about what you'd risk for the people you care about, and about whether some missions are worth the personal wreckage they leave behind. When the screen fills with helicopters spiraling through canyons or motorcycles weaving through rush hour traffic, you're not just watching spectacle. You're watching people fight for something bigger than themselves while carrying the scars of everything they've already lost. That's rare air in blockbuster land, and Fallout breathes it effortlessly. Another layer that keeps fans coming back decade after decade is the sheer craftsmanship in how every department supports the others like a perfectly synced team op. Take the editing by Eddie Hamilton. He doesn't just cut fast for chaos, he knows exactly when to hold a shot so you feel the physical toll. Cruise's labored breathing after a sprint, the split-second hesitation before a jump, the way a fist connects and the body reacts with real weight. Those micro-decisions build tension in ways that pure speed never could. Pair that with Lorne Balfe's score, which doesn't overpower the action but sneaks under your skin. Low electronic drones during planning scenes that make your stomach knot, then explosive orchestral hits when everything goes sideways, always weaving in fragments of Lalo Schifrin's immortal theme so it feels like the franchise is honoring its past while charging into the future. The sound team layers in everything from distant sirens in Paris to the metallic clank of gear shifting in a helicopter cockpit, creating an audio world so dense and believable that closing your eyes still puts you right in the middle of the chase. When you combine that audio-visual synergy with McQuarrie's insistence on real locations, no massive green screen stages pretending to be Paris or the Alps, the result is immersion that hits on a primal level. You don't just see Ethan dangling from a rope thousands of feet up. You feel the wind, hear the strain, sense the drop. That's why people describe watching Fallout as an experience rather than just a movie. And let's not forget the sheer joy that bubbles up in the quieter, character-driven pockets amid all the mayhem. Simon Pegg's Benji gets lines that land like perfect comic relief. Not forced jokes, but genuine human reactions to absurdity that make you laugh out loud because you felt that same, "Oh no, we're really doing this," panic in your own life. Ving Rhames delivers Luther's calm wisdom with such understated gravitas that every time he speaks, the room feels steadier. Rebecca Ferguson's Ilsa moves through scenes with a dancer's precision and a survivor's edge, making every glance and gesture loaded with unspoken history. Henry Cavill brings brooding intensity that contrasts beautifully with the more expressive members of the team, creating friction that crackles without ever feeling contrived. These interactions, the banter over comms during a high-stakes op, the wordless understanding when plans go sideways, the fleeting moments of levity that remind you these people actually like each other, turn the IMF from a collection of skilled operatives into a found family you want to spend more time with. That's the secret sauce. The action is phenomenal, but the reason you care whether they succeed is because you've grown to love these characters over 6 films, and Fallout pays that investment back tenfold. If you're scripting your video and want to leave viewers buzzing, hammer home this one truth. Mission: impossible. Fallout is proof that big-budget Hollywood can still surprise us, can still take risks, can still prioritize craft over algorithm-friendly shortcuts. In an era where so many franchises play it safe with endless CGI battles and predictable beats, this film doubles down on real bodies doing real things in real places, on writing that respects your intelligence, on direction that trusts silence as much as spectacle. It's the movie that reminds us why we fell in love with cinema in the first place, the rush of seeing something impossible made possible through sheer will, talent, and teamwork. Cruise breaking his ankle and finishing the take anyway isn't just a fun fact. It's a metaphor for the whole production. They got hurt, they delayed, they adapted, they came back stronger, and the result is something timeless. So here we are, still talking, still hyped, because Fallout deserves every word. If this series of breakdowns has you itching to revisit it, or finally check it off your list, mission accomplished. Grab the remote, turn off the lights, crank the volume until the helicopter rotors rattle your speakers, and let yourself get swept away all over again. We're still riding this incredible wave on Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. And the truth is, the more we peel back the layers, the more this film reveals itself as something truly special. Not just the best in its franchise, but one of those rare action pictures that feels like it was made with genuine love, obsessive attention to detail, and an almost defiant commitment to doing things the hard way in an industry that often takes the easy path. We've explored the heart-stopping stunts that left crews limping but never quitting, the way McQuarrie turned every production hurdle into narrative fuel, the cast whose chemistry makes you believe these people would actually risk everything for each other, the breathtaking locations that turned cities and cliffs into active participants in the drama, the themes that quietly ask big questions about sacrifice and redemption without ever preaching, the technical symphony of sound, editing, score, and cinematography that wraps around you like a second skin, and the sheer rewatchability that keeps uncovering new gems every single time you press play. But let's go even deeper still, because if your video script is going to stand out and really convince people that Fallout is essential viewing, it needs to capture that intangible spark, the feeling you get when the opening credits hit, and you know you're in for something extraordinary. One of the quiet miracles of this movie is how it makes exhaustion feel heroic. Ethan Hunt doesn't bounce back instantly after every brutal set piece. You see the toll. His breathing gets heavier, his movements get a fraction slower, his eyes carry more weight with every betrayal or close call. Cruise, at 55 during filming, didn't hide behind makeup or clever angles. He let the camera linger on the real sweat, the real strain, the real moment when a body that's been pushed to its limit has to find one more gear. That physical honesty is revolutionary in action cinema. Most heroes reset between scenes. Ethan carries the damage forward, and it makes his victories feel earned in a way that's almost cathartic to watch. When he finally pulls off the impossible, it's not because he's invincible. It's because he refused to let pain or doubt win. That refusal mirrors the entire production. Broken ankles, weather delays, script rewrites mid-shoot, pregnancies disrupting schedules, aviation restrictions forcing location changes. They all could have derailed the film, but the team adapted, improvised, and delivered something stronger because of it. Watching Fallout becomes a celebration of human resilience, both on-screen and behind the camera. And in a world that often glorifies effortless perfection, that message hits harder than any explosion. The film's sense of humor is another element that sneaks up on you and makes it endlessly rewatchable. It's not slapstick or one-liners for the sake of laughs. It's the dry, lived-in wit that comes from people who've been through hell together and still find ways to rib each other. Benji's wide-eyed, "We're doing what now?" reactions, Luther's deadpan delivery of impossible tech solutions, even the subtle eye rolls when plans inevitably go sideways. These moments land because they're rooted in real camaraderie. Pegg and Rhames have been playing these characters for years, and their timing feels effortless, like old friends finishing each other's sentences. Ferguson adds a sharper, more sardonic edge that cuts through the testosterone without diminishing anyone. Cavill's straight man intensity bounces off everyone perfectly, creating friction that's funny and tense at the same time. These beats of levity don't undercut the danger, they humanize it, reminding you that even in the middle of a nuclear countdown, people are still people, flawed, funny, frightened, and fiercely loyal. It's that balance of high stakes and low-key warmth that turns Fallout from a great action movie into something you want to return to again and again. Visually, the movie is a feast that keeps on giving. Rob Hardy's cinematography doesn't just capture action, it composes it like fine art. The Paris sequences glow with that soft, hazy European light, street lamps reflecting off wet pavement, neon signs bleeding into twilight, the Arc de Triomphe looming like a silent witness to the chaos. The mountain work in New Zealand and Norway feels elemental, vast, unforgiving landscapes where humans look small but their determination looks gigantic. The Halo jump is shot with such clarity and scale that you feel the vertigo even on a TV screen. Every frame is deliberate, wide shots that let you appreciate the geography of a chase, tight close-ups that capture the flicker of doubt or resolve in an eye, long unbroken takes that make you hold your breath because you know no cut is coming to save anyone. When combined with the practical effects, real motorcycles sliding through real intersections, real helicopters banking through real canyons, real fists connecting with real force, the result is a visual language that feels alive and urgent in a way CGI-heavy blockbusters rarely achieve. And then there's the ending payoff. Not the plot specifics, but the emotional release. After 2+ hours of tension, betrayal, impossible odds, and physical punishment, the film lands its final beats with precision and grace. It doesn't overstay its welcome or cheapen the journey with easy answers. Instead, it gives you closure that feels earned, hopeful without being saccharine, and leaves you with that rare post-movie high where you're smiling, heart still racing, already thinking about the next time you'll watch it. That's the mark of a truly great film. It doesn't just end, it lingers, it echoes, it makes you want to share it with someone who hasn't seen it yet so you can experience their reaction alongside your own. If you're putting this all into your video, let your passion show. Speak from the gut about how Fallout made you feel, how it reminded you that movies can still surprise, still thrill, still move you in ways you didn't expect. Use those little stories. Cruz finishing a take with a broken ankle, the 106 skydives for 3 perfect seconds of freefall, Macquarie rewriting on the fly because the locations inspired new ideas. Those anecdotes aren't trivia, they're proof of commitment. Encourage viewers to watch it big. 4K if possible, good speakers, no distractions, because this is a film built for immersion. We're nearing the end of this epic breakdown, but the love for Mission Impossible, Fallout, never really ends. It's the kind of movie that becomes part of your personal canon, the one you recommend when someone says, "I need something that'll blow my mind." So do it. Watch it tonight. Feel the rush, laugh at the banter, gasp at the stunts, and let yourself get swept up in a story about people who choose the hard road because it's the right one. We're still deep in the trenches with Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, and at this point, it's clear this isn't just a movie we're talking about. It's a full-on cinematic obsession that keeps revealing new reasons to love it the longer you stare at it. We've covered the physical heroism etched into every frame, the emotional undercurrents that make the chaos feel intimate, the razor-sharp balance of humor and heart that turns a team of elite operatives into people you'd actually want to grab a beer with after the world is saved, the visual poetry Rob Hardy painted across continents and altitudes, the way every technical department locks in like gears in a perfectly tuned machine, and that lingering afterglow where you walk away feeling more alive than when you sat down. But let's keep pushing, because Fallout is one of those rare films where the more you talk about it, the more you realize how much it quietly changed the game for what an action blockbuster can be in the 21st century. Smart without being pretentious, thrilling without being empty, and human without ever slowing down. Think about the sheer audacity of trusting the audience the way this film does. McQuarrie doesn't spoon-feed you exposition dumps or over-explain every twist. He drops you into the middle of a high-stakes op and lets you piece things together alongside the characters. You feel the confusion, the paranoia, the split-second calculations because you're experiencing them in real time with Ethan and his team. That confidence in the viewer's intelligence is refreshing in an era when so many big movies play it safe with constant hand-holding. Here, the plot is intricate, but never confusing, layered with double crosses and shifting alliances that reward attention without punishing it. When revelations land, they feel organic, earned through clues planted so subtly you might miss them the first time, but kick yourself for not seeing them on the second or third viewing. It's the kind of storytelling that makes rewatches addictive. You go back not just for the stunts, but to catch the tiny tells, the loaded glances, the background details that suddenly make perfect sense. That level of craft turns a 2-hour-plus runtime into something that feels brisk and addictive rather than long. The way the film handles morality is another quiet triumph. In most action franchises, the good guys are unambiguously good and the bad guys cartoonishly evil, but Fallout lives in grayer territory. Everyone believes they're doing the right thing, even when their methods are ruthless. Ethan isn't a saint. He's made choices that haunt him, choices that have hurt people he loves, and the film doesn't shy away from letting those consequences breathe. The antagonists aren't mustache-twirling villains. They're people with convictions, ideologies, and personal pain that make their actions understandable, even if they're unforgivable. That moral complexity doesn't slow the momentum. It fuels it. Every fight, every chase, every negotiation carries extra weight because you're not just watching people try to stop a catastrophe. You're watching them wrestle with whether the cost of stopping it is worth paying again and again. It's that philosophical backbone, delivered without a single lecture, that separates Fallout from the pack and gives it staying power beyond the adrenaline highs. And speaking of adrenaline, let's circle back to how the film uses silence as a weapon. Between the massive set pieces, there are stretches of almost unbearable quiet, moments where the only sound is breathing, footsteps on gravel, or the distant hum of a city at night. Those pauses aren't dead air, they're pressure cookers. McQuarrie understands that tension builds in the gaps, that what you don't see or hear can be scarier and more gripping than constant noise. When the score drops out and all you have is the creak of a helicopter rotor or the scrape of boots on concrete, your own heartbeat becomes part of the soundtrack. Then, when the music crashes back in or the first punch lands, the release is seismic. That push-pull between restraint and explosion is addictive. It trains you to lean in during the quiet parts because you know the payoff is coming and it's going to be massive. The global scope isn't just window dressing either. It's baked into the DNA of the story. Paris isn't a pretty backdrop. It's a living maze of history, traffic, and crowds that Ethan has to navigate at breakneck speed. The mountains aren't generic wilderness. They're isolating, unforgiving places where mistakes mean death, and there's nowhere to hide. The sky isn't empty space. It's a battlefield of physics and skill where one wrong move ends everything. Every location shapes the action and the psychology. Urban claustrophobia gives way to wide-open vertigo, which gives way to intimate, brutal, close-quarters combat. That variety keeps the film visually fresh and emotionally dynamic. You're never stuck in one mode for too long, and each shift feels purposeful. We're still locked in on this endless love affair with Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. And honestly, the deeper we go, the more it feels like we're uncovering a hidden blueprint for what blockbuster filmmaking should aspire to be in an age when so many big movies settle for noise over substance, shortcuts over sweat, and spectacle over soul. We've dissected the physical toll crews willingly took to make every stunt feel authentic and alive, the way McQuarrie wove moral ambiguity and quiet heartbreak into a story that could have easily coasted on explosions alone, the effortless chemistry that turns a squad of world-class spies into the kind of friends you'd follow into hell, the cinematography that turns rain-slicked Paris streets and snow-dusted cliffs into characters as vital as any actor, the masterful use of silence and sound to build pressure that explodes with perfect timing. and that rare sense of earned triumph that leaves you exhilarated yet thoughtful long after the screen fades to black. But let's keep peeling, because Fallout isn't done surprising us yet. It's one of those films where even the smallest choices carry weight, where every frame seems to whisper, "We could have done this the easy way, but we chose not to." And that's exactly why it keeps pulling people back in years later. One of the most underrated superpowers this movie has is its refusal to let any character feel like set dressing. Even the people who appear for just a handful of scenes carry real presence and purpose. The White Widow isn't just a glamorous arms dealer thrown in for plot convenience. Vanessa Kirby infuses her with a mix of icy calculation, inherited privilege, and a flicker of something almost vulnerable that makes you believe she's been playing this dangerous game her whole life. Solomon Lane isn't a generic megalomaniac. Sean Harris gives him a chilling stillness, a voice that never rises above a whisper, yet cuts deeper than any shout, turning every line into a scalpel. August Walker starts as the archetype of the buttoned-up government operative, but Henry Cavill layers in just enough restrained fury and buried conflict that you start questioning where his loyalties truly lie long before the story forces the question. These aren't throwaway supporting roles. They're fully realized people whose motivations ripple through the entire narrative, making the world feel lived in and dangerous rather than a stage for Ethan Hunt's solo heroics. When the team finally comes together in those late-game moments, it hits harder because you've spent time with each of them, felt their doubts, seen their strengths, and understood why they'd risk everything for the man in the middle. The film's relationship to time is another quiet genius stroke. It doesn't rush through its 147 minutes. It savors them. McQuarrie lets scenes breathe when they need to. Long walks through crowded markets where suspicion hangs in the air like smoke. Extended silences in hotel rooms where trust is being tested without a word spoken. Drawn-out planning sequences where you can almost hear the gears turning in everyone's head. Those slower passages aren't padding. They're the foundation that makes the action sequences feel like earthquakes instead of fireworks. By the time Ethan is sprinting across rooftops or dangling from a helicopter, you've been primed to feel every impact because you've already lived through the buildup of fear, calculation, and fragile hope. It's pacing that respects your intelligence and your emotions, that trusts you to stay locked in even when the explosions aren't happening yet. Most action films are afraid of quiet. Fallout weaponizes it. And then there's the sheer physical poetry of the fights themselves. The bathroom brawl isn't flashy martial arts choreography designed to look cool. It's ugly, desperate, close-quarters violence between two highly trained men who are trying to end each other as efficiently as possible. Every punch, elbow, knee, and grapple feels heavy because the actors trained until their bodies remembered the moves instinctively. Because the choreography was built around real anatomy and momentum rather than cinematic flair. You see the strain in their faces, the way a missed strike leaves an opening, the way a good hit staggers someone, even if they're too stubborn to go down. It's the opposite of weightless wire-fu. It's grounded, brutal, and strangely beautiful in its realism. The same goes for every other combat sequence, whether it's hand-to-hand in a Paris bathroom or a multi-man melee in a remote outpost. The fights tell stories about the people throwing them, about exhaustion, about desperation, about refusing to quit even when every instinct screams to stop. We're still deep in the heart of this incredible celebration of Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, and the more we talk about it, the clearer it becomes that this isn't just a movie. It's a living, breathing testament to what happens when a group of insanely talented people decide that good enough is never going to cut it. When they choose to chase perfection through every painful, exhilarating, sweat-soaked step of the way. We've marveled at the physical courage Tom Cruise poured into every leap and dive, the emotional intelligence Christopher McQuarrie threaded through every line of dialogue and every lingering silence. The unbreakable bond between cast members that makes you believe these people would actually lay down their lives for one another. The breathtaking cinematography that turns rain-drenched Paris nights and towering Norwegian cliffs into unforgettable characters in their own right. The masterful orchestration of sound and score that wraps around your senses like a second heartbeat. And the quiet moral questions that linger long after the final explosion fades. But let's keep going, because Fallout is one of those rare films that rewards endless exploration. Every time you think you've uncovered its deepest layer, another one reveals itself. Another reason to tell everyone you know that they absolutely have to see this movie. Right now, no excuses. One of the most beautiful things about this film is how it treats failure not as defeat, but as fuel. Ethan Hunt doesn't win every round. He stumbles. He gets hurt. He makes choices that backfire in ways that haunt him for the rest of the story. But every setback sharpens him. Every scar teaches him something new about himself and the people around him. That refusal to let failure define the outcome is mirrored in the production itself. The broken ankle that could have shut everything down became a story of resilience. The weather delays in New Zealand that threatened to derail the helicopter sequence turned into extra time to perfect the choreography. The script that started filming with only a third of its pages written allowed Macquarie to adapt and refine in real time as inspiration struck from the locations and the actors' performances. The film doesn't shy away from showing that greatness often comes after things go wrong, sometimes spectacularly wrong, and that the real heroism isn't in avoiding mistakes, but in how you rise after them. Watching Ethan push through pain, doubt, and impossible odds becomes a quiet inspiration for anyone who's ever felt like they've hit a wall in their own life. It's not preachy, it's lived in, it's real, and it lands in your chest like a promise that you can keep going too. The way the movie handles legacy, both the franchises and the characters, is another stroke of genius that sneaks up on you. Fallout isn't afraid to look back at the previous 5 films and acknowledge the weight of history. Julia's presence carries the echo of everything Ethan has lost, and everything he's still trying to protect. Solomon Lane isn't just a villain returning for a sequel. He's a living reminder of past failures that still have consequences. The IMF itself feels like a family that's been through wars together. Luther's quiet wisdom, Benji's nervous brilliance, Ilsa's guarded strength. They all carry scars from earlier missions, and those scars inform every decision they make here. Macquarie doesn't waste time with clunky flashbacks. He trusts the audience to remember, to feel the history in a glance, a line of dialogue, a moment of hesitation. It's a beautiful way to honor the 22 years of storytelling that came before while still making this chapter feel urgent and standalone. When you watch Fallout after the earlier entries, it's like coming home to people you love and finding them deeper, more complex, more real than you remembered. And let's talk about how the film uses color and light to tell its story without ever saying a word. Rob Hardy's cinematography is so precise that the palette shifts with the emotional temperature. The cold, metallic blues and grays of the opening sequences give way to the warm, golden dusk of Paris, then the stark whites and icy blues of the mountains, then the fiery oranges and reds of the climactic chaos. Every location has its own emotional signature through light and color. Paris feels romantic yet dangerous. The skies feel vast and terrifying. The final confrontations burn with urgency. Those choices aren't accidental. They're deliberate storytelling tools that guide your feelings even when the dialogue is sparse. When Ethan is at his most isolated, the frame feels colder, emptier. When the team reunites, the light warms, the colors deepen. It's visual poetry that works on a subconscious level, making you feel the journey as much as you see it. The practical commitment extends to the tiniest details that most viewers might miss on first watch, but appreciate more with every viewing. The way Cruz's jacket gets progressively more torn and dirty as the film goes on, the subtle limp that creeps into his run after the ankle injury, the way sweat beads on faces during long takes, the realistic recoil of firearms, the actual wind whipping through helicopter doors. These aren't CGI enhancements. They're the real marks of effort. Even the sound of footsteps changes depending on the surface. Hard echoes on concrete rooftops, soft crunches on mountain gravel, muffled thuds in carpeted hotel rooms. Those micro details build a world that feels tangible, lived in, dangerous. You don't just watch the action, you inhabit it. We're still pouring every ounce of passion into this deep, heartfelt exploration of Mission Impossible, Fallout, from 2018. And the truth is, we could probably talk about this film forever, because every single angle we turn reveals another reason it stands as one of the most exhilarating, intelligent, and downright satisfying action movies ever put on screen. We've celebrated the bone-deep commitment Tom Cruise brought to every physically punishing stunt, the way Christopher McQuarrie turned near catastrophes into storytelling strength, the lived-in chemistry that makes the IMF feel like the most trustworthy family on Earth. The visual majesty Rob Hardy captured across rain-soaked rooftops and dizzying mountain drops, the masterful dance between thunderous sound design and aching silences, the moral weight that quietly asks what loyalty and sacrifice really cost, and the way the film refuses to let any character become wallpaper. Even the briefest appearances carry real gravity and purpose. But let's keep going, because Fallout keeps giving. And if your video script is going to truly convince people that this is the one they need to drop everything and watch tonight, we need to leave no stone unturned. One of the most powerful things this movie does is make you feel the sheer weight of time passing, not just in the story, but in the real lives of the people making it. Cruise was 55 when he was hanging off helicopters and breaking his ankle on London rooftops. That's not a young man's game anymore. Yet he trained like someone half his age, pushed his body past limits most people would never dream of approaching, and still found the breath to deliver quiet, vulnerable moments that hit harder than any explosion. There's something profoundly moving about watching a man who could have coasted on his legend instead choose to keep raising the bar for himself. It's not vanity, it's devotion. The same spirit runs through the entire crew. Stunt coordinators who rehearsed sequences until their hands bled, camera operators who jumped out of planes to keep the shot steady, editors who sifted through hundreds of hours of footage to find the exact frame where emotion and action collide perfectly. Every person involved seemed to understand that they were making something that might outlive them, something people would still be watching and talking about decades from now, and that knowledge drove them to give more than they thought they had. Watching Fallout becomes a strange kind of mirror. You start asking yourself what you would be willing to endure if the thing you were working on really mattered. The film also has this rare gift of making scale feel intimate. The threat is literally world-ending. Plutonium cores, nuclear annihilation, a shadowy apocalyptic cult. But McQuarrie never lets the story get lost in the enormity of it all. He keeps bringing us back to the small human moments, the look Ethan gives Luther when words aren't enough, the way Benji's voice cracks just slightly when he realizes how deep the hole has gotten, the split-second hesitation in Ilsa's eyes before she makes a choice that could end her. These tiny beats are what anchor the global stakes. You're not just worried about cities being vaporized, you're worried about these specific people, about whether they'll still be able to look each other in the eye when the dust settles. That's incredibly hard to pull off in a movie packed with helicopter dogfights and motorcycle mayhem, but Fallout does it so naturally that you don't even notice how skillfully the balance is being maintained until you try to explain it to someone else. And let's take a moment to appreciate how confidently the film trusts physical reality over digital illusion. In an age when almost anything can be faked with computers, Fallout keeps saying no. We're going to do this for real. Crews really learned to fly that helicopter. The Halo jump was really done at 25,000 feet with oxygen masks jury-rigged so cameras could see faces in freefall. The Paris bike chase really tore through actual streets at real speeds with real traffic being redirected by the second. The bathroom fight really had two massive men slamming each other into tiles until the set had to be repaired between takes. That stubborn insistence on authenticity isn't just a gimmick. It changes the way you watch. You're not analyzing CGI seams or wondering how much was green screen. You're simply believing, because your gut knows no computer could fake the way a body moves when it's truly at its limit. That belief pulls you deeper into the story. When Ethan is hanging by a rope over a sheer drop, you're not thinking about visual effects. You're thinking about gravity, about fear, about the insane courage it takes to keep holding on. The movie also has this beautiful sense of momentum that feels almost musical. The action doesn't just escalate, it builds like a symphony. Low strings of tension, woodwinds of suspicion, then brass and percussion crashing in when everything explodes. McQuarrie and Lorne Balfe understand that rhythm is everything. A long, quiet tracking shot through a crowded market can feel more pulse-pounding than any shootout if the tempo is right. A sudden cut to silence after a massive set piece can leave you gasping more than the explosion itself. They treat the entire film like one long piece of music, and every scene is a movement that serves the whole composition. That musicality is why the 147 minutes disappear. You're not checking your watch, you're riding the wave. We're still completely immersed in this heartfelt, no-holds-barred tribute to Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. And the beautiful thing is that the more we keep talking about it, the more it proves why this film refuses to fade into the background of blockbuster history, because it's built on layers of intention, craft, risk, and raw human spirit that most movies only dream of touching. We've already poured out so much love. The way Tom Cruise turned personal pain into on-screen truth by finishing takes with a freshly fractured ankle. The quiet genius of Christopher McQuarrie letting moral shadows and personal regrets breathe amid the chaos. The lived-in warmth and razor-sharp banter that makes the IMF team feel like the only people on Earth you'd trust with your life. The visual poetry Rob Hardy painted with golden dusk over Paris and icy vertigo above Norwegian cliffs. The masterful push-pull of thunderous soundscapes and aching silences that make your own pulse part of the rhythm. The refusal to let any character become mere plot furniture, even when they're only on screen for minutes. And that persistent message woven through every frame that real greatness is born from refusing to quit when everything hurts. But let's keep going deeper still, because Fallout is the kind of movie that keeps rewarding the listener who stays with it, the viewer who comes back, the fan who wants to understand why it feels different from everything else in its genre. One of the most moving undercurrents in this film is how it quietly celebrates the idea of second chances, not just for Ethan Hunt, but for every single person caught in the orbit of his impossible choices. No one here is perfect. Everyone carries baggage, regrets, moments they wish they could undo. Yet the story never treats those imperfections as fatal flaws. Instead, it shows how people can still choose better, can still reach across the divide of mistrust, can still decide that protecting someone else is worth more than protecting their own pride or safety. That theme of redemption without cheap absolution runs like a hidden current beneath the surface. Never shouted, never explained away in monologues, just lived through glances, half-spoken apologies, and the simple act of showing up again when running would be easier. When characters extend trust to someone who has every reason to betray them, or when someone risks everything to pull another out of the fire, it's not grand heroism. It's quiet, stubborn human decency, refusing to die even in the middle of a world-ending crisis. That kind of grace is rare in action cinema, and Fallout hands it to you without fanfare, letting it settle in your chest until you realize how much you've been moved. The movie also has this almost spiritual reverence for the act of creation itself, the creation of plans, of trust, of moments that might save the world or at least save one person. Watch how meticulously the team builds every operation, the way Luther talks through tech like it's poetry, the way Benji's nervous energy turns into focused brilliance the second he sits at a keyboard, the way Ilsa calculates angles and exits with the precision of a chess master, the way Ethan absorbs every detail until the plan feels like an extension of his own body. There's something sacred in that preparation, in the hours of invisible work that make the impossible look effortless when it finally happens. McQuarrie doesn't skip those parts. He lingers on them because he understands that the real drama often lives in the waiting, the thinking, the hoping. When everything finally snaps into motion, the payoff feels earned because you've seen the labor behind it. It's a subtle tribute to anyone who's ever built something from nothing, whether it's a heist, a relationship, a career, a life, and it makes you root harder for the people on screen because you recognize the grind. And then there's the pure, visceral joy of watching professionals at the absolute peak of their game. Cruise moving through a crowd with predatory grace, Cavill shifting from calm restraint to explosive violence in a heartbeat, Ferguson gliding through a fight like it's choreography she's been perfecting since childhood, Pegg turning panic into problem-solving with one perfectly timed quip, Rhames anchoring every scene with that low, steady voice that says, "We've got this," even when the world is burning. These are actors who didn't just show up. They lived in these roles, trained until their muscles remembered the moves, studied real operatives and real combat so the physicality felt authentic. When they collide in a fight or align in a plan, it's like watching a symphony of skill and trust, and the camera never looks away. It lets you see the sweat, the strain, the split-second decisions, the moments when instinct takes over from thought. That level of performance elevates the entire film. You're not watching stars playing dress-up. You're watching masters doing what they were born to do. We're still wrapped up in this never-ending, full-hearted deep dive into Mission Impossible. Fallout from 2018, and every time I think we've reached the bottom of what makes this film so special, Another layer opens up and reminds me why people keep coming back to it, why critics still call it the high watermark of the franchise, and why it feels less like a movie and more like a living argument for what cinema can achieve when everyone involved decides that settling is simply not an option. We've already given so much love to the physical bravery etched into Cruise's every movement. The emotional intelligence McQuarrie slipped into the cracks between explosions, the way the team's banter and loyalty turn a group of strangers into something unbreakable, the visual symphony Rob Hardy conducted across dusk-lit rooftops and vertigo-inducing heights, the sound design that makes silence feel dangerous and noise feel alive, the moral grayness that refuses to let anyone be purely good or purely evil, the reverence for preparation and second chances, and that stubborn insistence on doing things for real when CGI would have been so much easier. But let's keep pushing forward because Fallout is generous. It keeps handing you new things to notice, new feelings to sit with, new reasons to tell the person next to you. You have to see this. One of the quietest but most powerful things this film does is treat every character's survival as something precious and fragile. No one is guaranteed to make it through the next scene. Not Ethan, not Luther, not Benji, not Ilsa, not anyone. That uncertainty hangs over every decision like a shadow, making even the most routine exchanges feel charged with meaning. When someone reaches for a hand or offers a reassuring nod, it's not casual, it's a deliberate act of defiance against the possibility that this could be the last time. McQuarrie never milks that tension for cheap sentiment. He lets it live in the background, in the way people stand a little closer than necessary, in the way voices soften just a fraction when the stakes rise, in the way eyes search for confirmation that the other person is still breathing. It creates this undercurrent of tenderness that runs parallel to the violence. So even in the middle of a brutal fight or a high-speed chase, you're reminded that what's really at risk isn't just the world. It's these specific human connections that have been forged through shared danger and shared scars. That tenderness doesn't weaken the action. It makes it matter more. The film also has this almost meditative respect for the act of waiting. The long hours between crises when the team is forced to sit with uncertainty, to trust that the plan will hold, to believe that the person on the other end of the comms is still alive. Those moments aren't filler. They're the emotional core. You watch Luther stare at a screen, willing a signal to appear. You watch Benji fidget and talk himself through panic. You watch Ilsa weigh every possible outcome before she moves. McQuarrie understands that real courage isn't only in the doing, it's in the enduring, in staying present when every instinct screams to run or fight or hide. When the payoff finally arrives, it feels enormous because you've lived through the waiting with them. That patience is rare in modern blockbusters, but here it's treated like a virtue, and it makes the eventual release of tension feel earned in a way that's almost spiritual. And let's talk about how the movie uses objects as emotional anchors. A simple piece of tech, a coat, a photograph glimpsed in passing, a ring that's no longer worn. These aren't props. They're memories made solid. They carry the weight of past missions, lost relationships, promises kept and broken. McQuarrie never draws big attention to them. He lets them sit quietly in the frame, and because he trusts you to notice, they hit harder when their significance becomes clear. A single glance at something small can carry more emotional freight than a 10-minute monologue, and Fallout is full of those glances. It's storytelling through absence as much as presence, through what's missing, what's been left behind, what someone refuses to let go of even when letting go would be easier. That restraint turns everyday items into talismans, and it makes the world of the film feel achingly real. The physical world itself is treated with the same reverence. Paris isn't a generic European city. It's alive with history, crowds, smells you can almost taste through the screen, the particular way light bounces off wet stone at dusk. The mountains aren't just pretty backdrops. They're cold, sharp, indifferent, places where nature doesn't care if you live or die. The sky during the halo jump isn't empty space. It's a vast, unforgiving void that swallows sound and makes every breath feel borrowed. McQuarrie and Hardy make sure you feel the texture of every environment. The slickness of rain on leather, the bite of wind at altitude, the metallic tang of fear in a confined space. Those sensory details aren't decoration, they're part of the story. They remind you that this isn't happening in a vacuum. It's happening in a real, physical world where gravity pulls hard, where cold seeps into bones, where one wrong step can end everything. We're still completely wrapped up in this heartfelt, sprawling tribute to Mission Impossible. Fallout from 2018, and the longer we keep talking about it, the more obvious it becomes that this film isn't just surviving the test of time, it's growing stronger, sharper, more resonant with every passing year because it was built on choices that most movies never even consider making. We've already poured out admiration for the way Tom Cruise turned real injury into cinematic truth, the quiet moral gravity Christopher McQuarrie let seep into every decision and consequence, the lived-in trust and sharp-edged humor that makes the IMF team feel like the only people worth following into the fire, the way Rob Hardy used light and landscape to speak when words weren't enough, the sound design that turns silence into a weapon and noise into a heartbeat, the refusal to let even the smallest role become disposable, the reverence for waiting and preparation as much as for action, the stubborn commitment to physical reality when digital shortcuts would have been so much simpler, and that persistent thread of second chances and fragile human connection running beneath every explosion and chase. But let's keep going, because Fallout keeps offering more nuance, more feeling, more proof that when a film is made with this level of care, it becomes something you don't just watch. You carry it with you. One of the most affecting things about this movie is how it treats memory, not as flashbacks or exposition, but as something that lives in the body and in the eyes. Characters don't need to explain their pasts. You see the history in the way Ethan's shoulders tense when a certain name is mentioned, in the way Luther's voice drops a fraction when he talks about old promises, in the way Ilsa carries herself like someone who's learned not to expect safety from anyone. McQuarrie never resorts to cheap, remember when montages. He trusts that the audience has been paying attention, that we've been with these people through 5 previous films, that we feel the weight of what they've already lost, and what they're still afraid to lose again. That trust creates a kind of intimacy that's almost startling in a blockbuster, sudden, wordless understanding between characters that mirrors the understanding you start to feel for them. When someone hesitates before making a move, or when a glance lingers a second too long, it's not melodrama. It's memory made visible, grief and love and loyalty all tangled together in a single look. It makes the stakes feel personal, even when the threat is global, and it makes every victory feel hard-won, because you know exactly what it cost to get there. The film also has this beautiful, almost poetic sense of inevitability mixed with choice. Things are going to go wrong, plans will unravel, people will get hurt, trust will be tested to breaking, but the characters keep choosing anyway. They choose to believe in each other one more time, to run toward the danger instead of away from it, to hold on when letting go would be safer. That constant, quiet act of volition is what makes Ethan Hunt more than a super spy. It makes him human in the best possible way. He's not invincible. He's stubborn, he's scarred, he's tired, and he still chooses. And every time he does, it feels like a small rebellion against despair, against the easy cynicism that says nothing matters, against the idea that one person can't make a difference. McQuarrie never spells that out in dialogue. He shows it in the way Ethan keeps moving forward, even when every muscle screams to stop, in the way the team keeps regrouping even when the odds look impossible, in the way they refuse to abandon each other no matter how dark things get. It's inspiration delivered without a single speech, and it lands deeper because of it. And then there's the sheer physical poetry of the film's final stretch, the way the action stops being just action and starts feeling like a culmination of everything that came before. Every punch, every leap, every desperate grab for a hand or a rope carries the weight of the entire story. You're not watching isolated set pieces anymore. You're watching the payoff for every choice, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt that preceded it. The editing, the sound, the score, the performances, they all converge in those last sequences until the screen feels alive with purpose. When the dust finally settles, it's not just relief you feel. It's something closer to gratitude. Gratitude that these people made it through. Gratitude that the film trusted you enough to care this much. Gratitude that cinema can still make you feel this alive. We're still lost in this beautiful, unending conversation about Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, and honestly, The fact that we can keep going this long without running out of things to say is probably the strongest proof yet that this film is something truly special. Something that doesn't just entertain for 2 hours and then evaporate, but lodges itself in your mind and heart and keeps unfolding new layers every time you think about it or revisit it. We've already given so much space to the raw physical courage Tom Cruise showed in every stunt. The way Christopher McQuarrie let quiet moral questions and personal regrets breathe amid the chaos. The effortless trust and sharp humor that turns the IMF into a family you'd follow anywhere. The way Rob Hardy turned rain-slicked Paris streets and towering mountain drops into emotional landscapes. The masterful interplay of thunderous sound and aching silence that makes your own breathing part of the tension. The refusal to let any character feel like background noise. The reverence for waiting and second chances. The stubborn love for doing things practically when computers could have faked it all. And that persistent thread of human connection that makes even the biggest threats feel achingly personal. But let's keep going deeper still, because Fallout is generous like that. It keeps inviting you back, keeps whispering that there's more to feel, more to notice, more to carry with you long after the credits roll. One of the most quietly powerful things about this movie is how it treats forgiveness. Not as a dramatic plot point, but as a small, hard-won act that happens in glances, in silences, in the simple decision to keep standing next to someone after everything has gone wrong. No one gets a clean slate here. No one gets absolved with a single speech or a tearful confession. Instead, forgiveness arrives in fragments, a hand extended when it would be easier to walk away, a nod that says, "I still believe in you," without needing words, a moment where someone chooses to protect rather than punish. McQuarrie never makes it easy or sentimental. He makes it realistic, painful, incomplete, sometimes one-sided, and because of that, it feels true. When characters offer or accept that kind of grace, it's not because everything is fixed. It's because they've decided that the bond is worth more than the hurt. That kind of forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It carries it forward, scars and all, and still chooses to move ahead together. In a film full of explosions and high-speed pursuits, those tiny acts of mercy become the loudest moments of all. The movie also has this almost reverent way of showing how fear works, not as a weakness to overcome in a single heroic burst, but as a constant companion that sharpens every choice. You see it in the slight tremble in a hand before a jump, in the quickened breathing during a long silent wait, in the way eyes flick to a teammate for reassurance before stepping into the unknown. McQuarrie never hides the fear. He lets it live openly, lets it make the characters more real. Ethan isn't fearless. He's terrified, and he moves anyway. Benji isn't calm under pressure. He's fighting panic every second, and he still cracks the code. Ilsa isn't invincible. She's calculating survival odds in real time, and she still dives in. That honest depiction of fear doesn't diminish the heroism. It magnifies it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act while fear is screaming in your ear. Watching these people do that over and over again becomes strangely uplifting. It reminds you that being scared doesn't disqualify you from doing good things, from protecting people, from trying again. It makes the victories feel less like movie magic and more like something possible in real life. And let's not overlook how the film uses physical proximity to speak volumes. Characters stand close when words fail. Shoulders brushing in a crowded elevator, hands lingering a second too long when passing a device, bodies shielding each other instinctively during chaos. Those small invasions of space aren't accidental. They're deliberate signals of trust, of "I've got you," of "we're in this together." McQuarrie uses the camera to honor those moments. Close framing that lets you see the micro-expressions, the subtle shifts in posture, the way breathing syncs when two people are truly aligned. In a movie full of distance, vast skies, sprawling cities, high-altitude drops, the most powerful connections happen in tight, intimate space. It's a beautiful reminder that even in a story about global catastrophe, the real battle is always fought up close, person to person, heart to heart. We're still completely wrapped up in this heartfelt, sprawling tribute to Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018. And the longer we keep talking about it, the more obvious it becomes that this film isn't just surviving the test of time. It's growing stronger, sharper, more resonant with every passing year, because it was built on choices that most movies never even consider making. We've already poured out admiration for the way Tom Cruise turned real injury into cinematic truth. The quiet moral gravity Christopher McQuarrie let seep into every decision and consequence. The lived-in trust and sharp-edged humor that makes the IMF team feel like the only people worth following into the fire. The way Rob Hardy used light and landscape to speak when words weren't enough. The sound design that turns silence into a weapon and noise into a heartbeat. The refusal to let any character feel like background noise. The reverence for waiting and preparation as much as for action. The stubborn commitment to doing things for real when digital shortcuts would have been so much simpler. And that persistent thread of human connection that makes even the biggest threats feel achingly personal. But let's keep going deeper still, because Fallout is generous like that. It keeps inviting you back, keeps whispering that there's more to feel, more to notice, more to carry with you long after the credits roll. One of the most quietly powerful things about this movie is how it treats forgiveness, not as a dramatic plot point, but as a small, hard-won act that happens in glances, in silences, in the simple decision to keep standing next to someone after everything has gone wrong. No one gets a clean slate here. No one gets absolved with a single speech or a tearful confession. Instead, forgiveness arrives in fragments, a hand extended when it would be easier to walk away, a nod that says, "I still believe in you," without needing words, a moment where someone chooses to protect rather than punish. McQuarrie never makes it easy or sentimental. He makes it realistic, painful, incomplete, sometimes one-sided. And because of that, it feels true. When characters offer or accept that kind of grace, it's not because everything is fixed. It's because they've decided that the bond is worth more than the hurt. That kind of forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It carries it forward, scars and all, and still chooses to move ahead together. In a film full of explosions and high-speed pursuits, those tiny acts of mercy become the loudest moments of all. The movie also has this almost reverent way of showing how fear works, not as a weakness to overcome in a single heroic burst, but as a constant companion that sharpens every choice. You see it in the slight tremble in a hand before a jump, in the quickened breathing during a long silent wait, in the way eyes flick to a teammate for reassurance before stepping into the unknown. McQuarrie never hides the fear. He lets it live openly, lets it make the characters more real. Ethan isn't fearless. He's terrified, and he moves anyway. Benji isn't calm under pressure. He's fighting panic every second, and he still cracks the code. Ilsa isn't invincible. She's calculating survival odds in real time, and she still dives in. That honest depiction of fear doesn't diminish the heroism. It magnifies it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act while fear is screaming in your ear. Watching these people do that over and over again becomes strangely uplifting. It reminds you that being scared doesn't disqualify you from doing good things, from protecting people, from trying again. It makes the victories feel less like movie magic and more like something possible in real life. And let's not overlook how the film uses physical proximity to speak volumes. Characters stand close when words fail, shoulders brushing in a crowded elevator, hands lingering a second too long when passing a device, bodies shielding each other instinctively during chaos. Those small invasions of space aren't accidental. They're deliberate signals of trust, of "I've got you," of "we're in this together." McQuarrie uses the camera to honor those moments. Close framing that lets you see the micro-expressions, the subtle shifts in posture, the way breathing sinks when two people are truly aligned. In a movie full of distance, vast skies, sprawling cities, high-altitude drops, the most powerful connections happen in tight, intimate space. It's a beautiful reminder that even in a story about global catastrophe, the real battle is always fought up close, person to person, heart to heart. If you're watching this film, let it be the moment you lean in and feel it plainly. Mission Impossible. Fallout is the movie you watch when you need to remember that small acts still matter, that a glance, a hand, a choice to stay when leaving would be simpler can change everything. It's the film that says the world can be saved not just by grand heroics, but by people who refuse to let go of each other, who choose forgiveness over resentment, who move through fear instead of pretending it doesn't exist. It's the kind of story that doesn't just thrill you. It quiets something inside you, makes you want to be a little kinder, a little braver, a little more stubborn about the things that count. We're still completely immersed in this heartfelt, unending celebration of Mission Impossible, Fallout from 2018, and every time we circle back to it, Another quiet truth rises to the surface. Another reason this film feels less like entertainment and more like a living reminder of what people can achieve when they refuse to compromise on care, on craft, on connection. We've already given so much space to the physical honesty Tom Cruise brought to every broken bone and breathless sprint. The emotional subtlety Christopher McQuarrie let live in every unspoken choice and lingering doubt. The way the team's loyalty and humor turned strangers into something unbreakable. The visual language Rob Hardy spoke through golden light and dizzying heights. The sound that makes silence feel heavier than any explosion. The refusal to let even the briefest character become disposable. The reverence for preparation and second chances. The stubborn love for real-world risk when faking it would have been easier. The way forgiveness arrives in fragments rather than fanfare. And the honest portrayal of fear that makes courage feel earned and human. But let's keep going deeper still, because Fallout keeps offering more. More tenderness hidden in the violence, more strength hidden in the quiet, more proof that a story can still reach inside you and change how you see the world, even just a little. One of the most moving things this film does is show how people carry each other forward, not just physically, but emotionally. When someone is falling, literally or figuratively, there's always a hand reaching out, a voice cutting through the noise, a body stepping in front to take the hit. Those moments aren't grand rescues staged for applause. They're instinctive, almost automatic, born from years of shared danger and shared trust. McQuarrie never lingers too long on them. He lets them happen fast, lets the camera catch them in passing, because that's how real support often works. Quick, quiet, no time for speeches. Yet those split-second acts of protection leave the deepest imprint. You see it in the way Luther moves without hesitation when Benji is exposed, in the way Ilsa positions herself between danger and the people she's come to care about, in the way Ethan keeps turning back even when the smart play is to keep running forward. It's a beautiful, understated portrait of what it means to have someone's back, not as a slogan, but as a daily practice, as the only thing that makes the impossible feel survivable. The film also has this gentle, almost philosophical way of treating endings, not as tidy resolutions, but as pauses in a longer story. Nothing is ever fully closed here. Relationships carry forward with their scars intact. Promises remain half-spoken. Questions linger even after the immediate threat is gone. McQuarrie doesn't force closure. He leaves space for life to continue beyond the frame, space for grief to settle, for hope to regrow, for people to keep figuring each other out. That open-endedness isn't unsatisfying. It's honest. It mirrors how real victories feel. You win the day, but the war isn't over. The wounds aren't healed. The people you love are still fragile. And because the film trusts you with that truth, the final moments land with a strange, bittersweet warmth. You're not left with empty triumph. You're left with something closer to gratitude. Gratitude that these people are still here, still breathing, still choosing each other despite everything. And then there's the pure, almost childlike wonder the movie inspires when you think about how it was made. Crews learning to pilot helicopters and jumping from planes at terminal velocity, the crew building wind tunnels and custom helmets just to capture 3 seconds of freefall perfectly. McQuarrie rewriting pages on the fly because a location sparked a better idea. The stunt team rehearsing until bodies ached and then rehearsing again because one more take might make it flawless. That wonder isn't nostalgia. It's awe at human stubbornness, at the refusal to accept close enough when perfect was still possible. Watching Fallout becomes a quiet celebration of effort itself. The late nights, the bruises, the arguments, the breakthroughs, the moments when everyone was exhausted and someone still said, "One more time." That spirit bleeds off the screen and into you. You finish the movie feeling like maybe you could push a little harder too, care a little deeper, hold on a little longer. Not because you have to, but because it's worth it. This film isn't just a great action movie. It's a reminder that we're still capable of making things that matter, that we're still capable of caring enough to do them right, that we're still capable of reaching across the gap to pull someone else through. It's the kind of story that doesn't shout its message. It whispers it over and over in every glance, every hand extended, every impossible choice that gets made anyway.